As a church, we're reading through the Gospels. I don't know about you. I've loved it. Well, I just love reading the Bible. So anyway, I've loved the Gospels. And we read them Monday to Friday, one chapter at a time. If you would still like reading plan bookmark, we got some at the welcome desk. But one thing throughout the Gospels that's kind of in your face all the time when you read them is Jesus. You cannot read the Gospels and miss Jesus. If you do, you're in the wrong Gospels. I don't know what you're reading, but it's the wrong Gospels because the Gospel's all about Jesus. It's about what Jesus did. He said this, he said that, he did this, he did that. But this morning, I'd like to go to Mark, the Gospel of Mark, and I want to talk about seeing Jesus. So one of the challenges, I don't know about you, I haven't seen Jesus, but I've seen Jesus. You can see Jesus, but not see Jesus. But you can see Jesus. And so at times it's difficult. Man, tough times, turbulent times. Can I say this also? Comfortable times, difficult to see Jesus. I don't know about you. Hey, when things are comfy, I can jaw flat out. Jesus, hang five, I've got stuff to do. Comfortable times, because we always say, when things are bad. Let me tell you, when things are good, it's just as bad in terms of seeing Jesus. And so I must say I've been challenged. When I've been reading through the Gospels, I've been challenged. I've been challenged to speak more faith into people than good advice. And, we're always quick to give godly advice. But I said, no, man, I actually want to speak faith over those people. I've been challenged to have faith in God rather than my own abilities. I don't know about you. I'm good at some stuff. I really am good at some stuff. But I'm like, Lord, sit back, I can do this. No, I need to put my faith in Jesus far more than in myself. You know why? Because I don't want to God stamp my thing. I don't know if you do that now and again. You do a thing and you say, no, it's for the Lord. No, it's not. Actually, you doing it, not the Lord doing it. And then we say, no, it was God's plan. We want to make this so it gets this little religious stamp on it. I don't want to do that. I want to do what God's called me to do, His way, His time. Oh, Lord, the government. Anyway, I want Him to do it in His time. Listen, I've got to tell you, it's been frustrating waiting for the transfer of this property. There's some stuff we want to do. We're going to raise some more money. We're going to put our thing at the front, put a thing on the side. We want to do. We can't until it's in our name. But we're going to have to wait. We're just going to have to wait. It's okay. God's got it. You know what happens? More often than not, I see God's hand in hindsight. I don't know if you've seen that. Only when things happen and a few years, sometimes months, years later, you say, oh, but God's hand was all over that thing. In fact, if I'd done it my way, I wouldn't have messed it up. I've been challenged to just lay some things down at Jesus' feet. He's got the solution, not me. And sometimes I do believe that Jesus does want us to lay some things down. Let Him deal with it. Battles. Hey, I can fight. Hey, I'm like a street fighter sometimes. But someone will say, Lord, but it's actually your battle, not mine. It's your battle. But this morning, I want to look what happened to a blind man named Bartimaeus. And so if you've got this technological advance called a paper Bible, you'll notice it's got no cables. Hey, did you know? No cables. No Wi-Fi needed, no internet needed. Yeah, boy, yeah, boy. Don't have to charge it. Battery lasts forever. Hey, isn't that amazing? Come on. Hey? Hey? What's that? To eternity. Oh, to eternity. Oh, okay. That's my hearing. David's going to pray for me on my hearing. We're talking about a blind man, not a deaf man. Do you notice something else? Check a smooth page animation. Look at that. Look at that. It goes so easy, né? Anyway, if you have one this morning and you want to share, no password needed. You just share it. Come on. Anyway, let's do this. Oh, what is that? My bookmark. You see, I've been reading my Bible. My bookmark fell out. Right, let's go. Mark chapter 10. Mark chapter 10. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Mark chapter 10. You there? Let's just wait for the Samsung people. Right, we're going to get there. Mark chapter 10, verses 46 to 52. I'm going to read. Mark chapter 10, 46 to 52. In my Bible it says, blind Bartimaeus receives his sight. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called to the blind man. "Cheer up." As you call someone, "Cheer up, on your feet. He's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked. The blind man said, "I want the lotto numbers." No, he didn't. He said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus. "Your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Hey, there's like 400 sermons just in that little bit of scripture. But this incident happened, Bartimaeus, a blind man, on the way to Jerusalem, where a few days later Jesus would be crucified and then raised from the dead. I think you'll agree with me, physically Bartimaeus had some difficulty seeing Jesus. He was blind. He couldn't see him. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to work that out. He was also a beggar, which means he didn't have much money. But there are some things that we can learn from Bartimaeus when it comes to seeing Jesus. And here's my first point this morning. You can write it down. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Notice verse 46, it says this, "Then they came to Jericho as Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd." You know, sometimes we can miss what's happening in the scriptures. So there, the writer Mark, he says, no, there was a large crowd. You've got to remember, when Jesus fed the 5,000, which is only the men they counted, so there was about 15,000, 20,000 people, they said, no, that's a large crowd. There's a large crowd following Jesus. We don't know how many, but I can tell you, lots and lots and lots of people were following Jesus. I think it's safe to say there were lots of people. It was a little bit crowded. So you get the picture. There's Bartimaeus on the side of the road, sitting begging. This massive crowd of Jesus groupies walk by. Now, I call them groupies for this reason. When the going got tough, they disappeared. They only wanted Jesus when he was a cool guy. When there was trouble, none of this Jesus thing. Let me tell you, you and I are going to face some stuff in time to come. There's lots of things going on in the world. We're going to face some stuff. My question to you, will we see you here on a Sunday? Will you still tell people I'm a believer? It's easy when things are okay. But when things get tough, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And so the odds of Bartimaeus getting Jesus' attention, not very high. I mean, that crowd weren't quiet. They weren't walking along quietly. Let me tell you now, they were talking, carrying on. They had cappuccinos and lattes. They were going mad walking with Jesus. There's Bartimaeus on the side of the road. I mean, you could have, Bartimaeus crying out to Jesus, "Hey, blind guy, quiet man. He's never going to hear you." I mean, come on, he's a beggar. Don't ask for your sight, ask for money. Just ask for money. It's going to help you. And anyway, this would be the best time for Bartimaeus the beggar to get bucks, because there's lots of people going by. And they're all feeling in a good mood, because Jesus is the guy. And they've just got some change to give to Bartimaeus. And so, I want to say this morning. There's no wrong time to call out to Jesus for help. There's no wrong time. But Brad, I don't know how to pray the right prayer. It doesn't take the right prayer to call out to Jesus. Sometimes this "help me, Lord" is enough. I'm going to wait till I get my life together. Well, when you do that, please come and tell me, because I still haven't got my life together. I'm going to wait till all my problems go away. Good luck with that. And wait till my situation turns around. Good luck with that too. I'm going to wait for the worship team to sing my song. Then I know Jesus is speaking. What if they never sing your song? I mean, who would have thought we would have started this morning with that rock and roll song? What was that thing? Jesus was speaking. Oh, come on. But Bartimaeus shows us he doesn't wait for the right time. He hears Jesus walking by. I'm going to shout out and cry for help. So number 2, this is my point number 2, focus on what you have. Bartimaeus was blind. He wasn't deaf and he wasn't mute. He could hear Jesus walking by and he could cry out for help. Focus on what you have when it comes to Jesus, to seeing Jesus. Verse 47. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. I mean, in his mind, he's thinking, I can't get to Jesus, but maybe I can get Jesus to come to me. How's that thinking? I can't see, but I can hear. I can speak. And the Bible says he began to shout even louder, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. This leads me to my third point this morning. Don't be swayed by public opinion. I'll tell you more and more this is true for you and I as believers. Don't be swayed by public opinion. There's lots of people saying things out there. Just be careful. Mark 10:48. Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more. Can you imagine telling him, hey man, Bartimaeus, shush. It's 5,000 of us here. He's got stuff to do. He's going to Jerusalem to declare himself the king of the Jews. Shush, hasn't got time for you. But he wasn't swayed by public opinion. He shouted all the more. I mean, the last thing they wanted was being delayed on going to Jerusalem. We need to get there because he's going to declare himself king of the Jews. Bartimaeus, pipe down. I mean, Bartimaeus actually was intruding on their Jesus. But Jesus deals with their attitude. It says Jesus stopped. Come on, you have to imagine this now. Jesus is walking. All his groupies are shuffling and walking behind, not looking where they're going. Jesus stopped. Have you ever done that in a queue? Everyone smacking the person in front of them. Oh, head-butting the oak in the back of the head. You can imagine the chaos. What? Please, stop. Who's rubbernecking? Someone's rubbernecking up front. What's going on? Can you imagine the picture? All Jesus did was stop. And Jesus says, hey, call him. Call him. In other words, bring him to me. That's what Jesus was saying. Jesus is saying, fetch those who are calling out to me. In other words, invite them closer. The most powerful way to get people to Jesus is invite them. Hey, now we've got bacon egg rolls. Invite them for breakfast. Just don't tell them it's at the chapel. They might think it's at McDonald's. Or olive and oil. We got oil? Chapel and oil. And we have a plastic olive tree. Did you know that olive tree is fake? I know a lot of you are saying, yo, that thing has got more olives on this week. You're right, it's fake, man. It's a fake tree. But it's got olives on. Here's my last point this morning, number 4. What do you want from Jesus? I tell you, it's a pertinent question in our age. What do you want from Jesus? Jesus asked Bartimaeus that question, what do you want from me? Let me tell you, Jesus knew the man was blind. I can tell you now, he didn't come to Jesus boldly. He was walking like this. I can guarantee you. You could see from far off this man was blind. He was probably even stumbling. He probably even had people holding his arms. Jesus sees he's blind. He still says, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? I think it's a very difficult question to answer, because if Jesus would grant you anything you ask for, what would you ask for? What would you ask for? I want lots of. That's a good one. I want to be. That's a good one. I want to have. Come on. I want to have. Hey, I was in Builders the other day. I checked that new Weber gas bra. I want one of those. But Bartimaeus says this, I want to see. I want to see. Not long before this, in a few verses before the Bartimaeus episode, James and John, 2 of Jesus' disciples, had asked Jesus something. It's in verse 36. Jesus says to James and John, what do you want from me? Same words, different people. And the two disciples say to Jesus, grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left hand. And the difference is that they did not know what it would take to sit at Jesus' right hand and left hand. Because Jesus says to them, he says, are you sure? You don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I'm going to drink? He's talking about the cup of suffering. You see, the one, James and John, asked with a spirit of ambition. Bartimaeus asked with a spirit of faith. Will you get me to see again? I mean, I love James and John. There must have been some really, they were great guys to hang around with. I mean, they said, we're your disciple. Of course we'll do whatever you ask us. And then a few days later, they were nowhere to be seen. They ducked. But Bartimaeus asks for his sight, and Jesus heals him. And then in verse 52, it says, immediately he received his sight and went along and had a party. No, it says he went and followed Jesus. Went and followed Jesus. Immediately received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. He was thankful for what Jesus had done. Bartimaeus followed Jesus to Jerusalem. And he's healed from his blindness, his sight restored. That man who had his sight restored, I can tell you now, saw Jesus on the cross because he went with him to Jerusalem. And he gives us pause for thought in our asking things of Jesus. I love the story of Bartimaeus. By the way, I had like 3 sermons on this story. I've got 2 underneath this one. And it does give us pause for thought, is why do we ask for the things we ask of Jesus? You've got to ask that question. I'm challenged by that. It gives to the very motive of our heart. The things we ask for, it reveals the motive of our heart. Am I self-centered, or do I really want to glorify God? Do I want to glorify Him in everything I say and do? John Piper was once asked, if you've got one thing to ask of Jesus, what would it be? And this is what he said, to know Jesus and make Him known. I've said that often. It's from John Piper. To know Jesus and make Him known. Amen. And we're going to pray together. Some food for thought, eh? With the bacon roll in the background. Won't you bow your heads? I want to pray. Father.